Hey, everybody, it's Dana Robinson. This is my weekly office hours. Do these Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific, often with a guest, someone more interesting than me. Today, it's Dana Solo office hours, and we're going to talk a little bit about planning your learning for the year. A lot of people wonder why I'm doing office hours. It's partly because I've got over a dozen courses on LinkedIn Learning. And LinkedIn Learning has encouraged us as the instructors on that platform to have office hours. So this is a benefit to hopefully my learners. I've had the benefit of over 700,000 learners going through my courses on LinkedIn Learning, and I appreciate that role I've been able to play. Not an influencer, not trying to sling anything, although I do have a book out, and if you are one of my followers, you hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm happy to share a link to the audiobook for free. If you want to support me, quick commercial, The King's Fly Swatter is out on pre-order. Go to Amazon, look it up, get on the pre-order. I would appreciate it. That's trying to get the hardcover out there for those that want a cool looking embossed book. If you somehow care that my name is signed on it, buy it and DM me, and I will sign another copy and send it to you for free. All right, let's get on with today's chat. I have a sort of legacy of law students asking me how they get a lifestyle job, and along the way, I've also had a lot of people in their careers trying to figure out how do I go from an employee to an entrepreneur. And I've got a course on LinkedIn that I'm going to unlock today that will allow you to get that for free. And I'll put the link after today's office hours so that you can watch that if you're interested. And a lot of what I talk about in the King's Fly Swatter and what I give for advice is it feels counterintuitive. So I want to talk about it today because the framework for how you approach your learning is partly going to be driven by how you approach your job. So let's start by talking about your job. Most people who have taken one of my courses, read my books, they're people who have jobs. And whether you want to be an employee and go up, or whether you want to become an operator and move up and out, the pathway that they don't really talk about, it's not popular. It's Shark Tank wants you to have a big idea, that the sort of myth that you'll hit it big and you'll become an entrepreneur when you have a big idea is false. The way you become an entrepreneur is by looking around you and figuring out what can you learn from your job and how can you leverage your job to become an entrepreneur. And it turns out it's very similar to how you move up in your organization. So the methodology, the way I approach curating the learning that I embrace has a lot to do with this kind of underrated philosophy that your future entrepreneurial activity, your journey, is through your job, not around your job. And that's kind of hard for a lot of people because we've been raised with the idea that the people that you work for should somehow have your back, that they should be thinking about how do I move up at work. And the truth is that they don't. And I'll use a short story, a real story from the last couple of weeks of helping advise somebody about how to evaluate their job opportunities at their job and make a determination of whether it's up or out. This person had a job and was being promoted. And you would think, hey, you're being promoted. This is good. And the promotion didn't include a very big pay raise. And this person at the same time got contacted by a recruiter. So it was a perfect opportunity for a little existential exercise. So I said, well, let's do this. Have the conversation with the recruiter and use that as an opportunity to ask a lot of questions. That recruiter is going to know what are the jobs upward if I move into another job at an organization with my skills. What are the titles of those jobs? What are the pay scales for those jobs? What are the things that those jobs require that I don't yet have what is about my resume that might make me qualified to step into the next step from where I'm at as a stepping stone, and really listen and take notes for keywords, words you don't know, job titles that you didn't know existed. Um, that, and with each one of those, ask more questions. What does that mean? So this exercise is one that anyone should go through. You don't have to get a recruiter, but a recruiter is a great resource for learning more about what you don't know about the career path that you're on, and that your employer isn't necessarily there to map out for you. It's really not their job. They're just trying to keep the wheels on the business. They're just trying to keep the machinery going. And so when this person uh, had their exit interview with former boss because they're getting a promotion, they then use that as an opportunity to ask more questions about the organization in light of what they now know from what the recruiter said. And some interesting information came to light. So it turns out that this promotion might be the highest that they can get in this organization, which is really valuable, because then now this person knows that this promotion is their last step in this organization. And that means everything they do for the next year or more, maybe two, is going to be an opportunity to learn what they need to know to step up and out to the next opportunity. And no one would have told her that if she hadn't asked. She had to be honest and just say, I'd like to know, in this organization, do you have this role? Do you have that role? What do I need to do to move up? And when the former manager said, well, this is, the role you're taking might be the top of the opportunities for this particular skill set and role, that's really important. And if she wants to stay in that organization, she now has to start saying, okay, well, what do I need to do to become you? Is there a completely different pathway to become you? Because that's going to shape what she learns, right, from the job, but also on the job and in parallel with the job. For example, how do you map out what courses you're going to take on LinkedIn Learning if you don't know what you need to learn to move up to the next level, which is not a natural progression in this particular case? So now she has the ability to weigh, what do I need to learn if I'm going to follow the recruiter out to another job? Because we've asked questions of the recruiter to understand what the next level up and out is. And internally, the only upward mobility is to get my manager's job or some parallel job that isn't on my normal career track. It's not within my certifications. It's not within my particular role. So now I need to map out, what do I need to learn over the course of the next year so that I can say, all right, I've exhausted my track, my journey through this piece of the career. I want to move over instead of up, because there's no more up. So mapping your year of learning has a lot to do with how you're going to approach the job you have and how you're going to leverage the job you have in order to give you the keys to what's next for you. So I'll give you another story that I, every year when I teach law students, I give them a pep talk of sorts. Because I always get the question, how do I get to do what you're doing? Which I think what they mean is, how do I get to have a law firm where I work for myself and I have autonomy and I have agency and I have the ability to, to work hard and make more, or to work less and have lifestyle? And it's a fair question. It's a great question from law students. And the answer is often disappointing, because they'd like to figure out, how do I get there right out of law school? And the truth is that you don't. The truth is that the lawyers who have agency, who have some control over their time, who own their law practices or become partners in a practice, are often the ones who paid a lot of dues, and not politically, not maneuvering and pretending to work, but literally taking embracing the belief that they work for themselves while they actually work for somebody else. And that means you're going to do what the employer needs. For a young lawyer, that's 2,300 hours a year of hard work. But it also means you saying, what else can I do? That means you asking questions and becoming curious. It means you networking and learning how do you get clients, how do you manage people, how do you run a firm, what are the means for managing cases, what are the software and technology that you need to run a practice, how do you network to get referrals with other lawyers. So that's 4 years of hard work. That's not a lifestyle. That's not fun. And it's not what students really want right out of school, is to go from what feels like already working really hard in law school to working even harder. But if you take that approach, then you're not stuck at a law firm just working hard and working long for the rest of your career. But you really need to use that first 4 years as the tool for gaining all the experience to become very competent, because you need to be competent as a lawyer. That's your day job, competent counselor to your clients. But meanwhile, you need to become capable of operating a business, capable of becoming a lawyer who owns their practice, who manages and runs that practice. And to do both of those means you're working twice as hard for that first, call it 4 years of your practice. And whether you're a service provider who is in accounting, consulting, an agency, or as I referred to, someone who was asking for career advice last week, that didn't realize that their current trajectory is terminal, that they are in the last promotion they can get in their current job. That means that she needs to embrace more work, doing things that aren't required by her employer and that don't give her any immediate gratification, immediate pay increases, and while also embracing, asking for additional work so that you can learn, finding out what are the things that I need to know that I just can't learn here, and then where do I go get those things. So let's talk about where do we go get those things. If you're listening to this, you're on LinkedIn, you're watching me. LinkedIn Learning is an incredible platform, highly curated, not sort of a random collection of any kind of course by anybody. And the instructors who teach the courses are passionate about them, experts in them, in many cases, world-renowned experts. And it's just well-curated content. And there's every skill you can imagine available on LinkedIn Learning's platform. Premium members of LinkedIn get it, or you can just have a subscription. Many employers pay for it for you. And here's a hack for LinkedIn Learning. You can get it for free from your public library, which is pretty awesome. Almost every public library in big cities has a LinkedIn Learning login that they'll give you with your library card number. So you can log into LinkedIn Learning, even if you don't have the budget, your employer doesn't pay for it for you, and you can learn anything that's on the platform. So to map out, what are you going to learn? Part of the problem is, what do we have? 20,000 courses or more on LinkedIn Learning. I'm sure there's more than that on all these other MOOC, massive open online course platform. And here's, I'm going to give you maybe some of the most important career advice, whether you're going to become an operator, an entrepreneur down the road, or whether you are just looking for a way to level up and grow in your work in terms of owning your career path. The secret sauce to almost every business is to find the center of gravity for that industry. The center of gravity is almost always a conference run by an association. In some cases, a software platform might run it. My private equity fund owns landscape maintenance companies. How do I learn about that so that I can be a better representative of our group by owning that asset? I'm going to go to the landscape maintenance conferences, and I'm going to get around landscape contractors and business owners and the professionals that help them grow their businesses. If you work for a landscape maintenance company in middle management, you should be looking for these conferences, and they're often cheap. Sometimes they're free. And sometimes they're run by the software that drives those businesses. So Aspire runs the best conference for landscape maintenance. Service Titan runs a fantastic conference for the HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and other home services. Um, I'm involved in audiobook production. I'm involved with audiobook distribution to libraries. It turns out that the software companies get together and host conferences. And in some cases, and I'm going to one that's free next month so that I can meet the people that run tech companies that distribute content to libraries. And what I'm going to learn there, if I was an employee, is I'm going to meet all of the movers and shakers. I'm going to figure out the ecosystem. I'm going to see what are the things these people know that I don't know? What are the words I hear that I don't understand? What are the roles of the people that I meet? And get really curious about those roles and how those people got into those roles. And then I'm going to be looking for career paths. I'm going to be looking for what are the things that I can learn on free or cheap platforms that are going to make me, the beginning of expert in these subjects. So if you're the woman I talked to earlier last week, she's going to be looking for what are the associations that the recruiter probably goes to in that industry. So then go to those conferences. Some of them are virtual or hybrid. Some of them are in person, and her employer might pay for her to go to those because it benefits her employer. And while she's there, she's doing things that benefit her employer, but she's benefiting herself if she's there curiously, networking, taking notes, writing down the types of skills and the types of roles that she wants to move up and into. And if you're entrepreneurial, then you're thinking, how did you get to own this business? And you're going to be asking those kind of questions. And they're going to say, well, I worked for a company that did this. And there's your answer to, well, how do you learn to get into that role so that you can learn everything that you need to know and eventually move up and out as an entrepreneur? Because that's really the entrepreneurial journey is not some crazy idea. It's you learning everything you can from an employer, giving them value for that, and then eventually saying, I think I can go out on my own with the skills that I've acquired. So I want you to think about your learning path for this year from the perspective of what can you do that leverages the role you have at work, and parallel track that with internal learning that you're getting for free from on-the-job training, which means you'll work harder. Let's be honest, you're going to work more, you're going to work harder, you're going to be more ambitious. And it's not that you're just trying to kiss up to the boss to get a promotion. You don't care. You work for you, and you're going to use that opportunity to learn, to move up in your organization if they give you the opportunity. And if they don't, it doesn't matter, because there's plenty of recruiters who would take you up and over to the next opportunity in a lateral upward movement. And you'll do the same there. And anyone who's ambitious enough to become an operator is going to use this set of skills to become the manager of the businesses that you work for, or go open your own shop and become self-employed, as I did as a lawyer, and as I've done in my private equity business, and as I've seen so many other entrepreneurs do. Thank you for coming office hours this morning. I appreciate the interaction. I covet the questions that you send me so that I can shape the content of these office hours, which is how I come up with the content, whether I'm bringing in a guest or whether I'm doing these solo. And continue to hit me up on LinkedIn or at hello@danarobinson.com. Love interacting with everybody and doing what I can to be a mentor to you and your career path, whether you're going up in business or whether you're going out to become an entrepreneur. Have a great day.